guys ready for some top 5? Yay! Top 5 Pokemon Professor. These are the Pokemon Professor I love since the beginning, since their introduction. Oh my goodness, I freaking love. With that being said, this top 5 is based primarily on my opinion. If you don't agree, please leave your own top 5 or your favorite Pokemon Professor in the comment section below. Without further ado, let's get this discussion going with number 5. Number 5. Of course, we'll start this video off with a waifu appreciation video, which is Sonia, because I freaking love Sonia's development throughout Pokemon Sword. Like, one of the many few things I love about Sonia, aside from character design, because she is hella cute and hella sexy AF. The Rule 34 that I've seen of her, oh my goodness, chef's kiss right there. But his character development, this character arc is one of the most heartfelt or heartwarming, what am I saying? Freaking, it touched my heart, my dude. I love it. I feel proud for her for becoming an official Pokemon Professor. So assuming that she doesn't yet have a branch to study like freaking Professor Birch or any other Pokemon Professor, she's probably gonna be following through her grandmother, Wish Magnolia, who studies Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing. So yes. Number 5, primarily because I love his character arc in Pokemon Sword and Shield, I will put Professor Sonia from Pokemon Sword and Shield number 5 in this list. Without further ado, let's go on to number 4. The Pokemon Professor that studies Pokemon habitat, who explores the wild primarily. Like, it's literally obvious from the start of the 3rd generation games what he studied, because he's literally out in the field, out in the freaking field, being chased by a freaking hyena, like a hyena puppy, like that. So yes, Professor Birch, who studies Pokemon habitat, is gonna be number 4 on my list, primarily because one of the many things that I love about Pokemon Professor compared to Professor Elm is he has some relevance to the story, which is he's the father of a rival, and for me that's wonderful for me, because in Pokemon, fathers really doesn't exist in Pokemon. So for me, that's probably why Pokemon Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald, or RS, it stands out, because, well, we have fathers for the first time, and they're freaking legends. They are Pokemon Professor, they're gym leader. So yes, number 4 would be Pokemon Professor Birch from the 3rd generation of games. Without further ado, let's proceed to number 3. Professor Kukui, who studies Pokemon moves. Basically, it's just to reiterate that Gen 7 is all about the Z moves. So he studies Pokemon moves. Similarly, Sycamore studies Mega Evolution because X and Y focuses on Mega Evolution. So yes, number 3, Professor Kukui from the 7th generation games. Oh my god, I freaking love design alone. I just love the design that he looks so chill. Like, he legit looks chill and like a Giga Chad who lives in the coast. I freaking love Kukui's design overall. But what prompts me, or what interests me in Kukui's character, is the fact that he was actually a Pokemon trainer who challenged Indigo League. I freaking love the backstory for Kukui. And then he come back to Alola, losing the Indigo League, and then decided to build his own Pokemon League in Alola. Oh, for me, that's the most respectable, childly thing to do in your small region. Freaking, I love Professor Kukui, my dudes. Oh my goodness, just that alone, that character backstory, the very first character backstory in Pokemon that I actually love from first glance. So for me, number 3 is Professor Kukui from the 7th generation of games. Speaking of Mega Evolution, Professor Sycamore is my number 2 pick because, oh my, just character design. Like, he's literally just the sexy guy, my dude. He's like the husband to appreciation of this episode. overall. So of course, I'm gonna be putting him here based on the fact that he's a husbando, like literally a husbando. Just the design alone, like just kind of a suave design. Like from first glance, you would think that he's like a suave kind of guy. So for me, just purely based on design, I think I love Professor Sycamore. Sycamore enough to put it at the number 2 spot. So yes, let's proceed to number 1. Story time for number 1. This is probably going to be a long story. Is Professor Oak, the one who studies human and Pokemon relations, is the most iconic character in Pokemon. Like, you probably just run up to a friend who doesn't watch Pokemon, doesn't play Pokemon games or the trading cards, and they probably recognize this from the memes, from the anime, and damn, he's just that iconic. And I just love Professor Oak, my dudes. Like, his quirky attitude from the anime, like one of the character Pokemon Professor Wise that has interest me from the start because of how quirky and very poetic he can be. Like, he's literally a poet. He's literally a freaking poet, my dude. So, right, Pokemon Professor Oak is definitely one of my favorite. Number 1, just purely because it's an iconic. And another thing is, I never fancy myself a Gen 1er. So, for me to put Professor Oak purely because he's the most iconic, and purely because I love his quirkiness in the anime, not even mentioning the fact that of the video games, I never started out in Gen 1. So, for me, that's enough for me to put Professor Oak number 1 on my list, just primarily judging his character based on the anime and how iconic he can be. I freaking love that. I love him enough to put it in number 1 spot. So for that would be my top 5 Pokemon professors.